Kobe Bryant didn't just leave us quotes. He left us operating principles, blueprints for how to show up when it's hard, when it matters, and when nobody's watching. A lot of athletes say they're inspired by Kobe, but is inspiration enough? I would bet Kobe didn't want us to just feel motivated. He wanted us to train our mindset the same way we train our craft. And that's what today's mental toughness moment is about. Hi, I'm Dr. Haley Perlus. I'm a sports psychology coach working with Olympic and pro-bound athletes, and I hear Kobe's name come up every single week. His mindset, his work ethic, it still shapes how we all push ourselves. But here's the problem. We quote him, we post him, we get chills reading his words, and then we treat him like an outlier, someone to talk about, but perhaps never be like. Today we're changing that. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 of Kobe Bryant's most powerful quotes, well, my 5 favorite ones, not just to hype you up, but to give you actual tools you can use in training, competition, school, work, and life. These tools can help you turn pressure into challenge, commit deeper than your feelings, build accountability, embrace failure as data, and fuel your purpose with daily dedication. This is not a tribute video. This is a transformation video. I want to help you use Kobe Bryant's lessons because the best way to honor Kobe is to live the mindset he modeled. Let's dive in. Here's the first quote. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. Now, when athletes hear the phrase everything negative, I don't think Kobe was talking about negativity in the sense of pessimism. I think he was talking about the unpleasant emotions we experience when we're pushed. Pressure, challenge, uncertainty, that feeling in your chest or your stomach before a big moment. Those emotions don't always feel good. Just because something is unpleasant doesn't mean it's bad for performance. In fact, those emotions are survival emotions. They're part of your body's fight or flight system. They're designed to wake you up, sharpen your attention, and prepare you for action. Problem isn't the emotion. The problem is when we misinterpret it, resist it, or try to eliminate it completely. Elite performers don't try to remove pressure. They learn to use it. And this is why I often say something, and I'm working with this with a lot of the athletes that I consult. Pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the invitation. An invitation to rise, an invitation to focus, an invitation to use everything you've learned and everything you've trained. But here's the key. Pressure only helps you if you respond intentionally. So here's a tool you can use in high pressure moments. When you feel that surge of pressure, ask yourself, what is pressure inviting me to do right now? Maybe it's inviting you to focus on the next play. Maybe it's inviting you to trust the skill you've trained. Maybe it's inviting you to compete just a little harder. Then ask the second question. What strengths do you have that will help you take that step? Not the whole solution, just that first step. Because rising doesn't happen all at once. It happens one intentional response at a time. And that's exactly what Kobe meant. Pressure and challenge aren't signals that something is wrong. They're signals that something meaningful is happening or can happen. And when you learn to respond to that invitation, that's when you rise. The second quote from Kobe Bryant is this: the moment you give up is the moment you let someone else win. In my work with athletes, one of the most upsetting conversations we ever have after a competition isn't when they say, my opponent beat me. It's when they say, I didn't lose, I gave it away. What they mean is this: they let the other person get away from them. They didn't stay focused. They didn't persist through the hard moments. They didn't prepare the way they could have. They didn't give everything they had. And that feeling, that's the worst one. Because losing after giving your best is painful, but it's also clean. You know you showed up fully. But giving up, mentally or physically, leaves something unfinished inside you. Now here's something important a lot of athletes don't realize. Some athletes protect themselves by giving up, because if they don't truly try, then they never have to face the possibility that their very best might not be enough. It's easier to say, I didn't really try, than to say, I gave my best and I still got beat. But if you listen to the greatest athletes, Kobe included, they understand something different. They know that giving your best is enough. It's everything. Not because it guarantees you'll win, but because it guarantees something even more important. Pride. You walk away with pride. Personal responsibility in delivering excellence. You walk away knowing you delivered excellence. And excellence doesn't always mean winning, but excellence is far more important because when you commit to excellence, you stay in the fight longer. You close the gap. You will learn. You will grow. And sometimes you will win. But more importantly, you never have to give the moment away. And that's what Kobe meant. The moment you give up isn't just when the scoreboard changes. It's the moment you stop showing up with everything you have. And that's a moment you always have the power to control. The third quote from Kobe Bryant is a strong one. I have nothing in common with lazy people who blame others for their lack of success. Now, at first glance, this quote can feel a little harsh, and in many ways, maybe Kobe meant it to be. Because one thing Kobe had zero tolerance for was a lack of personal responsibility. If something wasn't working, his instinct wasn't to point outward, it was to look inward. What can I do better? What can I learn? What can I change? That mindset is a huge part of what made him great. But I also think there's something important to understand here. When we see someone who looks lazy, often what we're actually seeing is someone protecting themselves. Protection from hard work, protection from discomfort, protection from the possibility of failure. Because if you don't fully try, you never have to fully risk. And blaming others can become a shield that protects someone's sense of worth. But here's the good news. People are not stuck there. I believe in everyone's capacity to grow. The key is helping someone take one small step of responsibility. Not everything, just something. One skill to improve, one habit to build, one commitment to keep. Because when someone follows through on even a small step, something powerful can happen. They earn a little bit of confidence. And confidence earned through effort creates momentum. There will be a tug of war between momentum and back to lazy, so you've got to keep pushing yourself. But momentum leads to growth. Growth leads to success. And suddenly, that person starts having something in common with Kobe after all. Not because they're perfect, but because they've started taking responsibility for their own development. The fourth quote from Kobe Bryant is simple, but incredibly powerful. Dedication makes dreams come true. But here's something important to understand. The dream itself isn't the magic. The dream is the target. We can't just have a dream and then wait for it to happen. The dream goal simply gives us something tangible to aim toward. And when something becomes more tangible, something can powerfully happen. We gain direction, and direction increases the likelihood that we're going to take action. There's actually a lot of science behind this. In performance psychology, goal-setting research shows that goals work through 4 key mechanisms that help turn intention into action. First, goals create direction. They focus your attention and effort toward what actually matters and away from distractions. Second, goals create energy. Challenging goal increases effort far more than something vague or like just do your best. Third, goals increase persistence. When you have a clear target, you're more likely to stay the process and work through inevitable challenges. And fourth, goals help create plans of action. Once the target is clear, your brain starts organizing the steps and strategies needed to get there. So when Kobe says dedication makes dreams come true, he's not talking about wishing. He's talking about committing to a target and then consistently taking action toward it. Now, I also want to say something to those of you watching who might be thinking, I don't even know what my dream is yet. That's okay. You don't have to have a dream goal right now. Instead, start with curiosity. Look around, ask questions, try things, experiment. Through exploration, you begin to discover two important things: what genuinely interests you and what skills you might have the potential to develop. You don't need to have all the skills yet. You just need to start believing in your ability to learn them. And when curiosity eventually turns into a dream, that's when dedication begins. And that's when dreams start moving from something you imagine to something you build. The fifth quote from Kobe Bryant is this: "If you're afraid to fail, then you're probably going to fail." I talk about this idea a lot with athletes. In fact, a mentor of mine, Dr. Jack Groppel, and I started a podcast called You Don't Know Jack. And in one of our episodes, Jack says something I think is brilliant. "Show me a competitor who is not afraid to lose, and I'll show you a dangerous competitor." Now, this can sound counterintuitive because many athletes grow up hearing things like failure is not an option. And I understand the motivation that brings that mindset. It's meant to push people to perform at their best. But here's the problem. If failure truly feels like it's not an option, then the consequences of losing becomes enormous in your mind. And when the consequences feel enormous, your nervous system reacts. Your body tightens. Your thoughts speed up. Your focus shifts from the task to the outcome. And when that happens, well, athletes start performing hesitantly. They play it safe. They hold back. They stop taking risks, the smart risks that performance requires. And ironically, that hesitation becomes one of the biggest contributors to failure. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, let's be clear. Nobody likes to fail. Loss is uncomfortable. It can be frustrating. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's really bad. But failure is also incredibly common in competition. For one person or a team to win, everyone else has to lose. That's simply the structure of sport. So the question isn't how do we eliminate failure? The question is, what is your relationship with it? Athletes who perform their best aren't fearless. They simply don't let the fear of failure control their behavior. They compete fully. They take the necessary risks. They stay committed to the moment. And if failure happens, they're upset, but eventually they learn from it, they grow from it, and they become stronger. Because when you have a healthy relationship with failure, two things can happen. One, you'll be okay if it happens, and you give yourself the best possible chance to succeed. And that's exactly what Kobe Bryant meant. If one of these quotes resonated with you today, don't just remember it, operationalize it. Ask yourself, what is one thing I will do differently in my next training session, my next competition, or my next challenge? Because mindset isn't built through inspiration. Mindset is built through repetition. And the more you practice these choices, the closer you move toward the kind of excellence Kobe represented. Not perfection, but excellence. And excellence is always worth pursuing.